What's going on, guys? Data.I back here with another video. So in this video, we're going to talk about the 3 core certs for the Comptia exam, being A+, Net+, and Sec+. Alright, so I'm going to be talking about each 3 of these certs individually, and I've broken it down into 3 different sections I want to cover when talking about each one of them. So we're going to talk about what the test consists of, basically what it covers, and what you would need to study in order to pass the test. The pay, meaning the median pay that your job should be paying you if you have one of these certs and you apply for a job. Not saying what your job pays you now, but what they should be paying you if you have one of these certs. Third thing I'm going to talk about is the skill level you should be at before you take one of these exams, and how long it took me to study before I took each of these exams, because I already have all 3 certs, so we're going to talk about that also. Okay, so these are the 3 certs that you want to get for any type of entry-level job going into the IT, networking, or cybersecurity side. So make sure to like and subscribe, and let's get to the video. Okay, so let's first talk about the A+ exam. This is your basic entry-level IT cert, usually good for people who are looking to get into like some type of computer repair or IT help desk type field. So with this cert, you should be making at least a median pay of at least $38,000, or entry level $15 to $18 an hour. So if you have an A+ cert and you're making anything less than that, then your job is completely taking an advantage of you. And that's just being real. So this exam is broken up into 2 different parts, and each part consists of a maximum of 90 questions per exam, meaning that part 1 has 90 questions and part 2 has 90 questions. So let's talk about what part 1 of the A+ exam covers. So it covers hardware, networking, mobile devices, and hardware and network troubleshooting. All right, so I'm gonna break each one of those topic points down and give you a brief summary of what each of them covers. Let's start with hardware first. So we all know every PC needs components to make it work, right? We all know we need a motherboard, a CPU, a RAM, some type of storage device, whether it be a hard disk drive or SSD, and a power supply to make our computer work, right? So this portion of the exam wants to make sure that you not only know what those components are and what they do, they want to make sure that you know in depth exactly what they do. Do you know RAM clock speeds? Do you know how many cores are in which CPU? Do you know what the cores do on a CPU? Do you know what each section of that motherboard does? Well, if you don't, you need to study that, because that's what this section of the exam is going to cover. It wants to make sure you know in depth what those parts do individually. All right, let's move on into topic part number 2. We have networking, which is pretty much what it is networks. So did you know there are different types of Wi-Fi? Did you know there's different type of Bluetooth? Do you know the bandwidths for each of them? Well, if not, you need to study that. And I'm just gonna make these sort of brief and short, because there's a lot to cover in this video and I don't want to make it too long. So if you have any other questions about anything I'm talking about in this video, make sure to leave a comment below and I'll get to you. But let's go on to topic point number 3. And part 3 is going to go over mobile devices. And when I say mobile devices, you're probably thinking about the cell phone that you have in your hand right now, but it's really talking about that and more so laptops. So how our laptops put together, how to repair laptops, and you know, all of that. It's pretty much straightforward. Like anything you would need to know about a laptop will be in this section. And topic point number 4 is going to be hardware and network troubleshooting. What do you do when you have that red X over your networking sign over the Wi-Fi and you're not getting an internet connection? What happens if you go press the power button on your PC and nothing powers on? What happens when you get this beep code or that beep code? What happens if your computer powers on but you get no display? These are the things you need to know as part of that part of the exam. Like I said before, I'm trying to keep this as brief as possible to not make the video extra long. Like I said before, if you have any questions or concerns, just leave them in the comments below and I'll get to you. But that pretty much covers part 1 of the A+ So exam. What does part 2 of the exam cover, you might be asking? So part 2 of the exam mainly covers software related things. So you have your Mac, Windows, and Linux OS, Mac, Windows, and Linux troubleshooting, Mac, Linux, and Windows commands, security, and software troubleshooting. Those are your main points that you want to focus on when taking part 2 of the exam. All right, so first talking point, let's talk about Mac, Windows, and Linux OS. Do you know how to install Windows? Do you know how to install a Mac OS? Do you know how to install a Linux OS? Well, if not, you need to learn. Do you know what Windows PowerShell is? Do you know what Windows Command Prompt is? If not, you need to learn that because that's going to be on the exam. And since we're talking about operating systems, let's talk about command lines. Do you know how to run commands in Windows? Do you know how to run commands in Linux? Do you know PowerShell commands? Do you know how to run commands in Mac? And with that being said, while we're talking about commands, let's talk about software troubleshooting. What happens if you get a blue screen of death? Do you know how to run the recovery disk if your OS fails? Do you know how to back up your information after your PC crashes? What if you go click on an app and it doesn't load? These are all the things that you need to know when you're troubleshooting your OS, and these will all be the things that you will be tested on. All right, so last thing, realistically, how long should you study before you take this test? So me personally, being in the Army and working with computers and everything 24/7, it only took me about 2 weeks to study for this exam. Like I said, it's pretty much an entry-level exam for base help desk and PC troubleshooting jobs. I'd say if you've never worked with a computer before a day in your life, at least take a month before taking both parts of the exam. And I'd say take it separately instead of taking both at the same time. I mean, if you take them both at the same time, then good for you if you pass. But me personally, I took one day, and then 2 days later I took the second part and then passed both. So realistically, that's what I would say do, but you know, choice is up to you. But that's all I got for A+. Let's get on with the next Comptia exam cert, and it's gonna be Networking Plus.